Hey everyone, Father Arlecchino is coming soon. She's gonna come in 4.6 and I'm so excited. Uh, Her drip was mind blowing, like I was completely blown away by just a woman standing and staring at you. I mean, her entire promotional photo is basically she's just standing and staring at you, or more like sneering at you, or whatever. And people are going crazy for that. It's not something extravagant like Chiori or Farina where they have this exquisite pose. It's just a woman standing, and people are going mad over it, rightfully so, because she is Father Arlecchino. She's a harbinger and one of the most anticipated harbingers, I would say. I mean, I've been a huge fan of Arlecchino since the day she was revealed in Signora's funeral video that we got right before Sumeru. That sudden video that nobody expected. And it's funny because I initially called her as a Eula alter, because of that hairstyle and all, but after seeing her character in the Fontaine Archon quest, it's like she isn't Eula at all. But like, enough of that. Let's talk about the most complicated part of her. I can go on day in and day out talking about her clothes, her hair, her eyes, her shoes, her hands, whatever, but we don't want to get into that stuff. I'll probably what should I say, simp over it in some other videos, like when she actually becomes playable. But as of now, we're going to just talk about the kit that she has. And by far, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody interested in her must have seen something or the other about her kit that's been leaked. And I'm just giving my 2 cents over here. Once again, no gameplay video would be attached in this video, maybe, because I don't want to get copyright. I don't want to get struck by Hoyoverse. But we're just gonna do some casual discussion, thinking about it, figuring out whether she's good or not, my thoughts on her, and whether you should pull for her or not. I mean, obviously pull for Arlecchino. There's no question, there's no doubt about it. She's amazing. She's Arlecchino. She's Father. Yeah, whatever. All right. Coming to a kit, her normal attack is different. It's actually different from other characters' normal attacks. With other characters, you just have 5 hits, 4 hits, or maybe 3 hits, and that's it. That's over. It's just plain white physical damage. With Arlecchino, it's kind of different because she works around with Bond of Life. Now, Bond of Life, if majority of the people fought the new type of Fatui enemies, or crafted the sword, the Fontaine catalyst. So that sword, that catalyst, it was something like this. Like, whenever you use a skill, it applies a Bond of Life to your character, which is basically an additional bar over your health bar. And Bond of Life basically means that you have to clear that amount of extra bar that you have with your heals before you can further heal your character. Your character is prone to taking damage. So if you have, let's say, 100 HP, and then you get a Bond of Life of, let's say, 50, so you have to clear that. You have to heal yourself for 50 HP to clear the Bond of Life. So let's say if an enemy attacks you and you have 100 HP, your HP goes to 75. Your HP is going to decrease, but the Bond of Life isn't going to decrease. You have to clear the Bond of Life first. So before Arlecchino's kit, I always thought of Bond of Life being one of the most useless things they have introduced in Fontaine. And I was like, why is this even a thing? I mean, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. You have to keep a healer if you want to use Bond of Life. And some teams, if you're running a Zhongli, you don't need a healer all the time. So it just defeats the purpose, because the Bond of Life is gonna gradually increase, and it's gonna take over your health bar, and then you'll probably have to heal around 18 or 19k HP before you can heal your character. Or let's say if you're running a Huta or a Baiju or someone like that, you're gonna have to heal 30k HP, and it's not easy healing 30k unless you're going to a statue of 7, but that's different in combat. Yeah, that's that. So Arlecchino uses Bond of Life, and like when she has Bond of Life, which is equal to 30% of her HP, she gains a 40% pyro damage bonus, and her attacks are infused with pyro. So like if you have let's say she has 100 HP and 30% of a max HP is probably, what is it? 70? No, wait. What am I doing? Where's my math gone? 30. I mean, yeah, I'm so stupid. 30% of a maximum HP is 30. So if she has, a Bond of Life of a value of 30, so she's gonna get a 40% pyro damage bonus, which is insane, because that single goblet that you get for pyro damage bonus, for any elemental damage bonus, it gives you a 46.6% damage bonus at level 20, and if you add another 40, you're getting an 86% pyro damage bonus on your normal plunge and charged attacks. So she's viable with Nahida for burns, she's viable with Farina for Vape, she's viable with Xianyun for plunge. I mean, you look at her, she's so versatile with that single ability. And the drawback is you have to create Bond of Life, but it's a necessary evil. That's what I think. And you see, this damage that she deals, it also has a scaling, which is insane, because normal attacks usually don't have scaling unless they're New Villette's charge attack, which scales on his HP. But Arlecchino has a scaling on a normal attack, so whenever she has a pyro infusion, like whenever she has a 30% Bond of Life, the damage that she deals scales on her attack and the Bond of Life that she has. And there's also an issue with this, like whenever she attacks, she's gonna take out the Bond of Life, so you need to have a good amount of Bond of Life on her to like get maximum bonus. I think I don't do the math right here, but I'm just assuming that you need probably a good amount of Bond of Life on her first. So like, see, as the description is stating that increase the damage dealt by an amount proportional to Arlecchino's attack multiplied by the current percentage of her Bond of Life, consuming 5.5% of her current Bond of Life in the process. Like, she is consuming that Bond of Life as well. So it's like a gradual decrease in attack. So it's like, your first 3-4 hits have got to be amazing before you can... Wait, she has 6 hits? Oh, she has 6 hits, damn. Oh my god, she's crazy. I'm sold, man. Should I pull for Chiori? Alright, whatever. Yeah, the skill that she has is basically, a pyro dash. I think it's mostly like Shenhe's, tap skill, where she just rushes forward dealing pyro damage. So Arlecchino rushes forward dealing pyro damage to any enemies that come in her way. And there's another thing that this skill does. It applies Blood Debt. Now, this is a condition where, what should I say? What is this condition stating? After the dash slash, Arlecchino's Bond of Life is cleared. An Ash Nourishment is performed, restoring health to Arlecchino based on 100% of the cleared Bond of Life. So essentially, after using her skill, she clears the entirety of a Bond of Life on her. But that means that you have to build another set of Bond of Life, which is like, I think it's the cycle. It's this cycle that she has to repeat, that, she has to create Bond of Life on her to get damage increase, and then clear that with a skill tap. Then do the process again, build it up again, and then clear it again. Alright, so that's an interesting cycle that I think. Blood Debt, the condition that she has with her skill, it's basically a debuff that she applies on enemies, which, like, oh damn, this is much better. Alright, so this deals off-field pyro damage to them every 3 seconds for 3 times. So that's really good for, burning, because in burning you need that interval that Dia has, where you need to apply Dendro and Pyro, and you can't just, continuously apply it, like, electro reactions or bloom or hyper bloom or something like that. There has to be an interval that, since I've played burning a lot, I've just noticed that there's a small interval that you need to have. Like, the burn lasts for a while, so you need to reapply dendro after a few seconds. You don't need to immediately reapply it, otherwise the timer resets and the DOT also resets. So I think this one is actually good for burn teams, and it might be good for wave also and overload. I mean, any off-field pyro is actually pretty amazing, any pyro skill. Alright, when Arlecchino performs a charge attack, it will recover and clear blood debt from nearby enemies. For each blood debt recovered, a bond of life. Okay. So her skill essentially removes the bond of life, then reapplies the bond of life. Interesting. That's crazy. That's honestly really, really crazy. Within 20 seconds after using the elemental skill, a bond of life up to 80% can be granted in this way. Up to 80%. Oh my god. So you can cover almost 80% of a health bar. It's absolutely insane. I mean, there's a passive for Arlecchino that I read, and I'm gonna get into later on, but if this is it, you need to really keep a shielder. You need to get your shielders ready. Bring out your Noelle, get a Zhongli. I don't know who else is the shielder, Kirara maybe. Get your shielders ready, because man, if this is it, that bond of life could be detrimental for many people. Like, if people cannot actively use that bond of life in their favor, they won't be able to use Arlecchino at all, because her entire kit runs around the bond of life mechanic. If you want to get used to it, I would suggest get the Fontaine sword that you can craft and put it on Lynette and try it out. Try the bond of life, because I have tried it out on Lynette. I'm not particularly fond of that mechanic. Bond of life sucks, but if Arlecchino can effectively utilize it, it's going to be amazing. It could be the decisive factor in determining whether her kit is amazing or not. Now this blood debt, alright, that's just a repeat of that. Okay, so this is an interesting skill. It's a good skill. Deals a dash of AoE pyro damage, then removes the bond of life that she has on her, and restoring health, basically. So like, if she loses health during combat, she restores her own health, then she reapplies a bond of life on her after performing charge attacks. So basically, she's kind of like Hu Tao, I think. I would suggest running Arlecchino a double Animo comp, because lower stamina consumption and charge attacks here. I don't think she has the benefit of Hu Tao C1, where charge attacks don't cost any stamina. Okay. And then the burst. The burst is an AoE pyro damage dealer, and grants Arlecchino another bond of life worth 15% of her max health. Interesting. I would really suggest get used to that bond of life stuff. It's gonna be insane, man. Figuring out. I mean, I have a Zhongli, and right now, when Linny came out, I always thought that I pulled for Zhongli, thinking that I would lose my 50-50, but I actually won it. And at that time, I was like, is Zhongli really viable in the Fontaine meta? Because you have, I don't know, you were getting characters like Linny, Newellette, and then you had Risley. Freena also came out, and they worked around the HP loss, HP gain gimmick. And I was like, is Zhongli really necessary? Because that HP loss, HP gain gimmick isn't really helpful. But then Newellette C1, like, if you don't have Newellette C1, Zhongli is an absolute must for Newellette. And then looking at Arlecchino's kit, looking at Chiori, who needs a Geo construct, which Zhongli can conveniently create on a 5-second cooldown. She synergizes well with him. If Arlecchino is like whatever I'm describing, Zhongli could be the major support unit for Arlecchino, because you don't want to keep a healer with her, since I'm getting on talents, so yeah, you'll understand that. Alright, her talent 1 is like when defeating an enemy affected by blood debt, Arlecchino is granted a bond of life with 70% of her max HP. Okay. You get tons of bond of life basically. So I could see her with around 80 to 90% of bond life, which is going to be interesting. It is definitely going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting character to play, and it'll take some work to get it. It's not, I mean, she doesn't look as simple as Navia, where you just collect crystals and do a button tap and see a big number. You're gonna have to utilize the bond of life, which is pretty fun. Like, this is the type of content that I'm expecting from characters in Genshin now. The ones that actually force you to like think about them, how they would work with potential characters that you have. Alright, additionally, blood debt has stages that differentiate its effects. Depending on the stage of blood debt at the time of its recovery, the amount of bond of life granted to Arlecchino varies, alright. Okay, so basically the amount of blood debt that's on enemies like suggests what kind of bond of life Arlecchino gets. Okay, 2025 was 70% of her max HP. She has the blood debt has 3 stages. Starts at the first stage and increases by 1 stage at every 3 seconds. Okay, so you need to keep a mental track. Like, if you want the maximum amount of bond of life, you need to wait for at least 9 seconds before clearing the blood debt. Now, blood debt lasts for 30 seconds, so that's giving you a 21-second leeway. So it's good for bosses. Like, you just use a skill tap and they get the blood debt. Then you, using the skill cooldown timer, you calculate 9 seconds, and after the 9 seconds are up, you clear the blood debt on it, and you get a 70% of bond of life on Arlecchino, which then buffs your normal attacks, charge attacks, plunge attacks. Basically, you can then switch over to a Xianyun or a Farina, and then back to Arlecchino to do your Pyro Swirl or Vape or Burns or whatever you want to do. Interesting. Alright, so you need to keep track on the timer. Talent 2 is basically her attack power. Oh, no, wait. She gains 1% resistance to all elements and physical damage up to a maximum of 20% based on her attack power for every 100 points above 100. Above 1000. So maximum up to a maximum of 20%. So if I do the math, I think you need around what would be 3000 attack. 3000 attack would probably give her the maximum resistance or something. No. For every 100 points above 1000, she gains 1% resistance to all elements. Alright, so basically you need to do 20. Yeah, 3000 probably. It's achievable. It's very, very much achievable. I mean, my Shenhe has 3.3k attack right now, and that's without her signature weapon. My Xianyun has 2.9k attack without her signature weapon, and she's level 85. So once I level 90 her, she's obviously going to touch the, what should I say, the 3k mark. So it's possible. Although you have to build onto an all attack artifact set, but we will see about that. Alright, lifestyle talent. In both team settings and combat, Arlecchino can only benefit from healing provided by her own elemental skill. Yeah, this is the talent that I was talking about. She cannot receive healing from any other sources while she's in combat. Outside of combat, she can be healed normally. Like, your Barbara or your Baiju or Yao, anybody can heal Arlecchino. But when you are in that combat state, when that music is playing in the overworld, when you are in the spiral abyss, Baiju, Kokomi, Barbara, Yao, Xianyun, Farina, they can't heal her. They can't heal her at all. Arlecchino is a one-man woman. She's gonna heal herself with her skill, with her attacks, and she's not gonna take any help. And she is such a based lady for doing this. All it's going to be hell to master it. Like, mastering this particular skill. Like, you need to. I'm a player that relies heavily on healers. And I don't know how many of you rely on healers, but I love healers so much. Ever since I began the game, I always had a team com which was probably like, 2 DPS, 1 sub DPS, and 1 healer. That's what my team com has always been since I started the game. Even right now, when I play, I usually play. The current team that I'm using for exploration is Xianyun, Yoimiya, Zhongli, and Yaimiko. So Yaimiko is my sub DPS off-field applicator. Zhongli is my, supporter shielder. Although I can switch him with, Baiju or Barbara, I usually switch him with that. And Yoimiya and Xianyun are my main DPS units. I switch between them. So, if you're using Arlecchino, she can't heal herself. So Xianyun's burst is like one half of a burst is effectively useless. Furina's Numa aligned state is completely useless. Baiju, Kokumi, Barbara, Noelle's entire kits are completely useless for her. Noelle could work, half of it because she gives the shield. So you're seeing the scene, right? With Arlecchino. So this is Arlecchino. You gotta use her, you gotta actively use her. She's an on-field DPS. Just because this talent, it could have possibly made her to be a sub DPS, an off-field DPS, if she did not have this talent, end of the field, do some attacks, switch it out, bring out Furina, skill reset, switch it out, and stuff like that. But yeah, she wants to be on the field. She desperately wants to be on the field. She wants to be the one to kill everyone that she encounters. Kind of like a bloodthirsty person, right? Not gonna lie, I find it hot. I mean, it's Arlecchino, so it's understandable. Had it been, Yoimiya's kit like this, I would be like, what the hell? But since it's Arlecchino, it works. If you've seen her burst animation, if you've seen her splash art, it's beautiful. And this is her initial kit. This is the C0 kit that it is. And with team comps, look, if I'm gonna think about it, I don't make decisions right now because I only judge when a character comes out, and I've tested them extensively, for over a month and a half or so. Because I think that you can't judge characters in a week. You need to try them out with different characters. But yeah. So over the top thoughts are that she would work with Furina's Uxie alignment. But you have to keep a healer with Furina so that your stacks don't go low. And then you have to continuously switch between your Arlecchino and your healer, and the healer has to be an AoE healer. So Baiju is your best bet for Furina. Or I don't know if Kokumi heals the entire team, but if you're using Kokumi, I don't think her skill heals the entire team. If it does, that's amazing. But I know that a burst heals the entire team. However, you need to have an on-field Kokumi for that. Kind of like Barbara's skill, where you use Barbara's skill and then you do normal attacks, so she heals every other member. Barbara's burst can be pretty useful here because even with the team-wide healing, Yao is completely useless because she just heals a single character. So, using Arlecchino with Furina is actually pretty difficult, because if you're using Arlecchino, you're keeping Furina, and with Furina you need another healer, another team-wide healer. So basically Barbara's burst or Baiju. And then you need someone to keep Arlecchino alive, because if that bond of life is going to hit her, that bond of life is going to be a major debuff if people cannot utilize it well. So you need to have a shielder. So Noelle, Layla, Kirara, Zhongli, maybe Xinyan if you love her. So that's the thing. I mean, see where I'm getting at. She's a difficult unit to use. Now I know this is gonna branch out as she gets released, as many people try her out. We're gonna see amazing team comps. I'm gonna utilize her in different teams. I'm gonna see where she fits best, with whom. I probably think maybe Mona would work amazing with Arlecchino, and or what should I say? Who else? Nahida could be a perfect match for her. With the burn team comp. Dia can be pretty good. I think she can mitigate. I hope that she would be able to mitigate some damage from Arlecchino. Now relieves some of the stress that you might feel. But yeah, as you can see, it's insane. And that talent 3, that talent where she can't be healed by normal healers in combat, is a game changer. It's going to introduce so much new versatility to teams. It's amazing. I can't wait to try it out. Okay, talking about her constellations. Usually I just talk about her C0 kit, but constellations, let's just brush over it. Constellations are when the Feast of Crimson Dead normal attack does that it will not consume any bond of life. Alright, so C1 is basically her normal attacks have a 1/3 chance of not consuming bond of life, and instead it'll grant bond of life to Arlecchino, so basically more damage, more time for her pyro infusion. So it's not a timer, you don't have a timer where she's only getting 20 seconds of pyro infusion or something like that. It's as long as you can keep that bond of life up, which is amazing, because if you find out a way to keep that bond of life going, like if her skill cooldowns are amazing, if her rotations work well, you can pretty much have 100% uptime on pyro infusion, and that's going to be a game changer. That's going to be an insanely game changer, because I think no other character except Catalyst right now have 100% uptime on their elemental infusion. Kitchen comes the closest with maybe a 2-second cooldown or so. It's amazing. Al-Haytham might also have almost an 80-90% elemental infusion if you do his charge attacks regularly. Alright, C2 is the initial blood debt applied, starts from the second stage. Alright, so that's good. She summons Eclipsed Blood Calamity in front of her, dealing pyro damage based on 900%. Oh damn. C2 is amazing. Alright, C3 is basically normal attack increases by 3. It was amazing because a normal attack is the main source of damage, which makes sense. C4 is another bond of life upgrade and is the blood debt stage on all enemies by 1. Additionally, successfully recovering. Okay, nice. It restores energy basically to her. C5 is basically burst level increase, and C6 is damage from the dash slash and elemental skill is increased by an amount equal to 5% of Arlecchino's attack power. Yeah, it's something. It increases her normal attack and burst, crit rate and crit damage. It's amazing. It's good. Her passive talent is crit damage, passive stat basically. So if she has crit damage, you might want to get a crit rate circlet for her with good crit damage stats. That's gonna be my aim. If you're going for her weapon, I will try to get her weapon. Hopefully I get her early and then have some primogens left for her weapon. Her weapon is basically a scythe, which is pretty badass, like the Grim Reaper. It's a red scythe, and it has an essential stat of crit rate, and when a charge attack hits an enemy, it grants a bond of life equal to 25%. So basically this weapon is only good for her because you do not want bond of life on any other character that you have, because no other character I think utilizes bond of life except Arlecchino. So this weapon is, I think we're seeing a trend where all the new weapons are only fit for certain characters, for the respective characters, like Xian Yun's weapon. Then you have there was another character who was a specific Baiju's weapon. Yeah, it's only good for them. Kokomi's weapon, so it's only good for the signature character. It's not good for it's not versatile. So this Arlecchino's weapon is another thing, but it looks so badass. It's so cool. That sight is so awesome, and with the animations that she has, with the scythe and attack animations and the twirl with scythe, it's so cool. It's amazing. Alright, additionally, when the wielder has a bond of life, the damage increased by 8%, something. The bond of life is greater than equal to 30%, the damage dealt. Okay, so basically this weapon is focused on bond of life. That was her kit. and it's gonna be a long video, but yeah. uh, that's the explanation for her kit. If somebody didn't understand it, I mean, you're not alone, because I'm also still figuring out some parts. Like, her kit wasn't that easy to understand. And thinking about it, I don't know how. I mean, I've seen the animations, but teams are only decided when they finally get released. Like, Chiori came out, so I can see, like, people were saying that she was meant to be used in an Ito team, which I can see, because, using geo constructs, and she gets, what should I say, a geo damage bonus if she has a geo construct nearby. But then again, you can utilize Ningguang, you can utilize Zhongli, these two characters. You can utilize your geo traveler if you use them, so you can utilize them as well. She's not fixed to an Ito team. However, since she's more of a DPS side, a sub DPS or a DPS character, I would say that she does need somebody that that boosts geo damage. So, double geo resonance is always good. But yeah, Goro and all those guys buff Churi well. I don't think she works well with crystals like, Navia. But yeah, apart from that, Father is coming. And, you're gonna fight Father as well for weekly boss 2. Now, I've seen some photos of it, and the entire fight honestly reminds me of The Witcher 3. I don't know if you guys have played it, but there was a scene, the final boss fight in Hearts of Stone, the first DLC for The Witcher 3, where you fight Gontarodim. And Gontarodim, I don't remember clearly whether he becomes a demon-esque creature, like, with wings and all. But I do remember that if you go forward with the DLC, like, there's an option to, like, just end the DLC before, and you don't even have to fight Gontarodim at all. But if you fight him, like I did, he transports you to a place where there's eternal darkness, and I think there's a blood red moon, a crimson moon, and you fight in a place, in a ruin, like in a castle ruin basically, where one half is staring towards the sky, and you have this blood moon in the sky. I don't remember it very clearly. You don't fight him, you basically search for him. You're searching for him in the water. So I don't know, but I just remembered that, and it looks to be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be pretty damn awesome. Material wise, let's talk about materials for Arlecchino. Pyro, normal stuff, the pyro stones and the Fatui drops and rainbow roses, because Lini also uses that, so she uses rainbow roses. Her boss materials come from a new boss that's going to drop in 4.6, so you can't pre-farm that. Her weekly bosses also come in 4.6, because you have to fight Arlecchino to build Arlecchino, something about that. I don't know why. It's kind of hilarious, right? You fight Arlecchino to raise Arlecchino's talents. It's amazing. And after that, what was it? Yeah, artifact set. Do not pre-farm that as well, because she is getting a dedicated artifact set that is focused around the bond of life thing. Like, if you have bond of life, you gain an attack damage bonus. So I would say you can just farm the stones and the Fatui drops, but you probably have enough Fatui drops, and the rainbow roses, which is pretty much easy to get. Apart from that, it's good. It's like, just don't pre-farm. It's not worth it right now. And with that, we're gonna end this long discussion on Arlecchino, because this one had to be long. I had to discuss her kit in detail, because she is confusing. She's not like Xianyun or Chiori or somebody like who has basic kit. She's complicated, and who knows, maybe it's gonna get further complicated as the beta progresses. But yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it further. This is gonna be one and done video. The next time you're gonna see me talking about Arlecchino is when she gets revealed. or when I get her, the Arlecchino pulls. But yeah, this is my interpretation of her kit and what type of team she might fit in. uh I hope you enjoyed this, this discussion that I did with you guys. If you agree, if you disagree, feel free to comment below. Are you looking forward to getting her? Let me know. And please subscribe to support me, and have a great day. Goodbye.